I've been making rugs for many years now, too many to mention. It's taken me all around the world. I have been so fortunate. I first started making rugs in Reeth, and a farmer's wife came in one day. I was just married and we'd bought our first home, and it was cold and drafty. And Hannah Place came in with some lime stockings, an old hook and a sack, and she said, I'm going to show you how to make rugs. And so those were my very first rugs, all hooked, and they went down on the floors, covered up all the drafts. They were lovely, I enjoyed them. I saw the rugs in the agricultural shows, or the proddy mats, the shaggy piled ones, and realised that everybody in the Dales was making rugs. I had never seen them before, so I was fascinated. Years later, another lady came in to live in the village who'd been in America, and she made rugs in America, and that was a totally different ball game. It was cutting fine strips, dyeing lovely colours and patterns, and she introduced me to all this, and it was had an amazing effect on me. It was wonderful. I was able to paint using strips of fabric and portray all the stories of my life, and do pictures and scenery. I can look out there and see the moors, and they could all go into these rugs. It was absolutely fabulous. Oh, about 10 years ago we met Lesley. Lesley came to stay and we became great friends. I was so thrilled one day when she came in and said that she was going to write a book, and she discovered who she was going to write about, and it was going to be me. So really that was fabulous. I was so excited. So luckily for me, I had done many rugs all about my life, about my father who was blind, about my life on a farm, all about the children. This is the book here, and this particular rug on the front is a picture of me from many years ago when I'd rescued some lambs that had been buried in the snowdrift. And every year I would make a rug for a Christmas card, photocopy it and have it printed off, and they all had to have titles, you see. So this one I came up with the idea of bearing gifts. Victory Garden is a favourite rug of mine. I had a photograph, an old photograph of my grandfather leaning against his shed in his garden, and I just loved it. So that was the source material for this particular rug, and here he is leaning against the shed. I love pigeons. I've always had pigeons, and I think my grandfather had pigeons as well, and so I wanted pigeons. I wanted to be a really northern scene. So there's the pigeon and the pigeon cree and all the vegetables, and they can be any vegetables that you want them to be, the beans and the tomatoes and the cabbages, and it's all lots of texture. And I had great fun doing this rug. And here's some close-up pictures of all the vegetables that have gone into my garden in the rug. And this is a northern cree that you'll see in the northeast of England. This is the actual rug that's in the book. I think, out of all of my rugs, this perhaps would be the most popular one. Everybody loves my mother in the garden. I had a photograph of her before she died, and she was 95-year-old, and she used to sit in the bottom of my garden with my old dog, and she used to listen to the hens chuntering away, and I've got her in the garden forever. She's surrounded with all her favourite flowers, her lavender and her daisies and her roses. The whole rug is recycled fabric, and there she is. I've got her with me all the time. Oh, this particular one's lovely. This is Reeth Green. This is where I live, and this is the view from the front of the house. And if you personalise your rugs and you put your friends in, people who you know, they're absolutely thrilled. And I have my friend Greta walking across the green with her dog, and John Raw bringing the sheep in. I'm actually sitting on the seat making a mat. So this was a lovely one to do. I would have loved to have been an artist and paint, but I realised I wasn't really very good. But the wonderful thing about this is I get away with it in a mat. You've got a different vocabulary. You've got words like folk art and primitive and naive and painterly. And so it doesn't matter if the perspective's just not quite right or the shading's not right. If it's a rug, everybody loves it. This is the actual rug that's portrayed in the book, Reeth Green. I've called this rug Origins and Identity. It's my origins in Sunderland, where I was born near the coast, and I've gone from the North Sea to the Gambia Sea, where I now teach some of the poorest areas in Africa. It's the story about my life in this rug. It's the two places where I've lived, in Penshire Monument in Sunderland and Reeth where I am now. And the family history is portrayed in these two little places up here. I had a keelman in the family, maybe 3 times removed great-grandfather. We did the family history, so I was so intrigued with the story of the keelman. He had to go in the rug. My husband is an engineer in the Merchant Navy, so he drew the ship for me here. And this is why I've got shipbuilding, because all the ancestors were into shipbuilding as well, and the tyne and the weir. The whole rug is done with pure wool, cut strips. I've done it mainly hooky, and then I've done high loops and cut loops and proddy, which is shaggy pile, to create the tree. So it's like a tree of my life. I'm busy making a rug now, and it's portraying the Yorkshire Dales. I've got some of the wildflowers in and some of the stone, and this is going to be the moss. And I'm trying to make a nice textured piece for an art exhibition that's going to be held later in the year in the Dales. I am so lucky, you know, because many years I decided to go to America and introduce myself to other rug makers. And I took myself to rug school in Vermont. And in one fell swoop I met 150 rug makers. It was absolutely marvellous, and lots of teachers. And I showed them my work, and I looked at their work, so we were all able to compare notes, and we all had different things to show and tell each other, and I made so many friends. It was absolutely wonderful, and that was the best move in my career, just to take myself to America, because then I was invited to other rug schools in America, and I invited people back here. So we've had all this wonderful networking going on from various states in America, Canada, Australia. It's been absolutely wonderful. It's given me a wonderful career. This book is about my life and my memories. We had such fun writing it. I think it was about 3 years, and Lesley delved into all the history and all the background information, all the particular rugs and stories in here. She's gone into great detail about the history. So it's not just about rug making. It also has all the techniques, all the different ways I've made the rugs, how they're made, and the source material. I hope you enjoy it and you find it inspirational.